Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to Fantasia. For today, we're going to be jumping into another session of Epic 7 now today. Got some more balance adjustments for you guys. That's right, it's that time again. It's been several weeks since the last major overhaul. I know we had that little mini one, which I hope they do more of, with New Kid Aiden and Fenris that they released prior to their EEs being announced, which was pretty cool to see. And again, yeah, definitely hope that they do more mini patches along the way. Keep in mind, for this balance patch here, we are going to see one that's a little bit lighter, and I put lighter in like quotes. The reason being that we're rounding the bend of the Epic 7 World Championships. It's always around this time of the year where, you know, end of May, start of June, that they go for a balance update that's a little bit more just trying to modernize units' kits, rather than really try to go for a big overhaul. I mean, we're still feeling the effects of that large overhaul from like Mort's update, right? Where Mort got the ability to just stop counterattacks in general. That killed a meta and a half, and he's still wreaking havoc to this day. So yeah, while we're trying to deal with that, I think it's pretty good to have a lighter one, but also one to just kind of boost up certain units that really just need a bit of a glow up. We'll talk about all these units in depth right now though, so let's go ahead and jump into it. By the way, if my voice sounds a little bit weird and scratchy and stuff, it's because I was at a huge school event at my school last night, and it went on to like 8 o'clock, and it was super late, but it did a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, a lot of just fun times all around. We had kind of a little carnival type event at the school, so yeah, I apologize for that, but if you can bear with me, let's get started. The balance adjustment is going to cover quite a few units actually. So we have Desert Jewel Basar, we have Straze, Holiday Yufine, Tywin, Charles, Fenris, General Purrgis, and Assassin Cartuja. And for the artifacts, we have Indestructible Gaiters and Glo-Wings 21. Yeah, so Indestructible Gaiters is Hua Young's artifact, and Glo-Wings is Laika's artifact, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and check out what we got. Starting off with Desert Jewel Basar, one of my absolute favorite units to use back in the day. About a year ago, I mean, guys, I was spamming DJB in pretty much every single game, right? He is getting a bit of a change here, so his healing is now not going to be proportional to the target's max health and his own attack. They're removing the attack scaling here, and it's just going to be proportional to the target's max health, and they're adjusting his soul burn, so it only requires 10 souls to increase the amount that he heals. DJB's really lackluster in healing. His only heal comes from his S1, and yeah, it just doesn't really do that well. As a resident DJB expert here, I can say that this soul burn might actually make a pretty big difference. His S1 healing is not bad, but having just 10 souls to soul burn something, it will make him a lot more consistent in keeping the team alive. He's usually built really squishy though, so his staying power on the field might not really be that great to warrant this soul burn. I'm not sure. Either way, I don't really see a place where you can put a better soul burn in place without making him like, you know, kind of overtuned. I kind of like that this balance patch is, again, a little bit more level-headed, right? People have really high expectations of wanting broken units and things, but then those broken units get released, or those broken buffs get released, and then players just kind of complain about it for months on end, and nothing gets fixed. So yeah, mild things like this can really bring out the strengths of a unit, and on paper they might seem underwhelming, but I can assure you at least a few of these units you'll see in practice start to shine a bit more. So yeah, moving on to DJB's second skill, Desert Storm. He will now, instead of getting the 85% chance to blind for 2 turns, which honestly came in super clutch in previous seasons when I used him a lot, I would just sometimes instead of just barrier inverting, sometimes they don't have a barrier, I just go for the blind because they'll keep my team alive when they miss. Now though, he will dispel 2 buffs from the opponents, and he gets a 100% chance to decrease combat readiness by 20%. The issue with this now becomes, do you build DJB with effectiveness? And personally, I don't think so. I mean, you could go for like an effectiveness DJB here, but I think he might just be better built with super high effect resistance and just channel the rest of your stats into bulk instead of effectiveness. If you go too thin between effectiveness and resistance, I don't think you're not really gonna be doing too well. But yeah, this is not bad for any like going up against DPS units and stuff, going up against like Fallen Cecilia teams. You know, that huge bear inversion, ton of damage, dispelling the buffs is also amazing, by the way, getting rid of things like immunity and stuff. DJB is usually built pretty quick too, so getting this attack off against Fallen Cecilia type teams, really nice. Decreasing combat readiness can be useful. I mean, if you're going up against high-res units, they typically have lower speed, so you're not really going to be needing to push them back too much, but against, hey, maybe some mixed comps where they have high-res units that are slower, but maybe they have low-res units or no-res units that are faster, you can push them back and get your team an advantage, so you might not need the effectiveness here. For his S3, we're going to look at the full awakened version here. They removed his critical hit damage reduction, and they just made it so he has a flat 30% damage reduction, which is amazing. Super useful, because so many units nowadays don't need to crit to deal massive amounts of damage, and this will keep him alive, especially against those types of nuking units, like, you know, think about like a Dragon Bride, Senya, and all that stuff. So his passive will kick in there, and if you have other forms of mitigation like defense, penetration, resistance, and stuff, you'll be good, right? You'll be golden. So the other main thing is his constellation is going to be changing. Sagittarius is going to be changed over to Taurus. So Sagittarius is more for like attack scaling, and honestly, Soul Weavers with attack scaling has not been a thing because Smilegate has tried with Tamarin in the past and it failed miserably. Taurus over here at least provides a bit more speed for the constellation. Yeah, so it provides higher health and speed, so more bulk, more speed, always going to be really nice, especially because his role is supposed to be a cleanser. I used to have an absolutely insane DJB build. I think it's actually showcased in the Hero Compodium, the official Hero Compodium Discord server for Epic 7. Yeah, so that's pretty impressive. I got on there. So yeah, I might rebuild my DJB after this. I think this is a very solid buff for him, and I'm really looking forward to using him again, especially again because Fallen Cecilia, she is going to be around, especially if you're going to be using splash damage type units, right? Next up, we have Straze. Really fast little snippet here for Straze. His Dispel here, instead of dispelling just 2 buffs, is a full buff Dispel. Keep in mind, he still keeps his Ignore resistance for anyone lower attack than him, so this is actually a pretty nice option to go for. The main issue is his defense penetration here, which is on his S3. That is still, well, relies on defense penetration. You're always going to get like max anyway against like tanks and stuff, but this at least allows you to penetrate defense of anybody, just 100% guaranteed, whoever has the max health. But yeah, if Empyrean Ilanov's on the other side, you're probably still not really killing anybody. If Diane gets her, you know, buffs up, you're probably not killing anybody. You're probably at that point just S2, so disregard that. You probably just S2 and then come back and then S3. But yeah, I think this is not a terrible one for Straze. I guess you can definitely build him in a way where he is a damage dealer but kind of supports the team too, maybe a little bit more bruisery, bulky. I'm not sure how you'd go about this. At the very least, you don't need your attack to be super high now is the main thing, right? Because you're going to get that 100% defense penetration against whoever has the max health, you could build a more tanky, bruisery Straze, a bit lower damage, right? You don't need effectiveness or anything, just a little bit lower damage, a little bit more bulk maybe, and then you can have him just be a buff dispeller against really slow teams, and then also just penetrate defense and just nuke somebody off the face of the planet. Not a bad thing at all. Just gives him a bit more flexibility with the stat line that you can use with him, and he honestly has not been used in a very long time, ever since Empyrean Ilanov came out. So good to see that they're trying to, you know, give him a little shove to come back into the meta, maybe to deal with, I don't know, the high defense units that we currently have ravaging everything in RTA. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and take a look at Holiday Yufine, probably one of the worst limited units, honestly, that are out there. Not the worst, but one of, like, you know, bottom of the barrel type the limiteds out there. So she is going to get, instead of a 75% chance, 100% chance to burn for a turn on her S1. It is an AoE, so do keep that in mind. And burn damage is not too terrible right now, so yeah, that's not bad. But what really matters is this. Before, she used to have max health to increase her evasion by an additional 35%. So at the start of the match, she'll get the evasion. Or if you heal her back to full during the match, she'll get that full 70% evasion again. Now, though, you will have that extra evasion as long as your health is above 50%, which means you can get hit a couple times, Zio can hit you and stuff like that, and you can still dodge the follow-up that comes up afterwards. That's not too bad. I think, honestly, 70% evasion just seems still like so much of a scam. I don't like using Holiday Yufine just because of that, just because she can get potentially hit by like a stun or a sleep or something, and then it prevents movement, and then you're just screwed, right? One thing I will say though is that Holiday Yufine, because Mort is earth and Holiday Yufine is fire, she could be a decent out to fear if you are still struggling against Morts. Yeah, not too shabby, because when you get hit, right, you can go ahead and dispel the buffs with her S3. So if your team gets hit and stuff, you have that 70% evasion plus the 50% advantage against Mort. You have over 100% evasion against Mort, you're fine. You can cleanse the fear and stuff from the team, give everybody attack buff, increase their combat readiness, and kind of roll that into some advantage. So I can see Holiday Yufine making a comeback for like maybe Guild Wars or Arena, where Mort is really common. And her, again, Holiday Yufine's damage is not that bad. But yeah, it depends on how you want to build her. I probably want to build her, you know, at least with some bulk so she can survive a couple hits. That evasion is going to be pretty good and pretty key. And hey, if you build her on something like Sigurd's Scythe or anything, where you get knocked to lower health and you can heal back some of that HP and get back your evasion, that also seems pretty good to me too, right? Okay, so moving on, we got Tywin. Oh boy, so Tywin here is another interesting unit because he's not used, because his passive has a big major weakness. Commanding Shout is a big major weakness. It's not the fact that it can only be activated once every 2 turns. The fact that it activates every turn now is fantastic, is the fact that the unit has to get hit. When the ally in the back row has a debuff which prevents movement after being attacked, you can activate Commanding Shout. So if Mort S3s you, for example, your unit is being attacked, and so now they get fear, which prevents movement, prevents you from taking a turn, and so Tywin will cleanse that. But if someone were to, let's say, sleep your team with a non-attack skill, then you're out of luck, because Tywin will not cleanse that. He will also not cleanse stuns. You know, if you get a non-attack skill that stuns you, right, then yeah, you're not going to get cleansed out of that either. Tywin, again, good for things like Silverblade Armintha, anyone on Abyssal Crown, good against Mort. But I feel like his usage is still just a bit limited because of this specific line after being attacked. It just feels like it's too limiting, right? I think that's the main factor. The other thing with Tywin is that he doesn't really offer too much damage, but he does now have a chance to inflict defense break for 2 turns, which is pretty good. Instead of the 75% chance to dispel a buff on his S1, this might actually make him have a bit more potential. This puts him a little bit more in line with like A Tywin, as in like A Tywin doesn't really deal damage himself. Some people build bruiser A Tywins, but you can, you know, use him as a defense breaker, you can use him as a cleanser and supporter. I feel like Tywin could have a role now, especially against Mort teams. Commanding Shout is useful, but the cooldown at every 1 turn could kind of help, actually, again, like against like the Abyssal Crown type teams. I don't know what unit would stun you or sleep you every single turn, but yeah, I mean, I guess it could be okay. Oh, one other thing Tywin's not good against is bombs. When bombs detonate and your unit gets stunned, it doesn't count as them being attacked. It's just the debuff is appearing on you because, you know, an effect was activated. So it's not really an attack there. So if bombs detonate and stun you, you won't cleanse that. If you're attacked while you're stunned, like if someone, you know, your unit's stunned and let's say Pirate Captain Flaunt hits you again, then you will cleanse. That's fine, but do keep that in mind. Tywin is not good against bomb units, right? Okay, so to pair up with that, his exclusive equipment actually made it so that it dispels 1 additional buff from using Sword Storm, that S1, which honestly was pretty good when he could dispel 2 buffs at a time. Now they actually made it so that it increases your defense break chance by 15%, which is not terrible. An S1 that has a 65% chance to defense break on a supporting unit that has more defense breaks on his like S3 is actually pretty decent. So yeah, anyway, moving on here from Tywin, I think he's going to be okay. Again, mostly used in like arena type things where you can control the situation a bit better. I think he'll probably be like an ice bait unit for Mort as well. Who knows? Next up, we have Charles. My man, I knew. Before I went to work, I did look up the balance patch, and I saw that Charles was going to be on it, and I read the balance patch before I went to work. So, now we're here. I was so excited all day to come home. I'm exhausted from last night, but super, super excited to talk about this buff here, because my man Charles, I don't know if he's going to be viable, but he's getting a buff, and that's all I can really ask for at this point. I just hope that he is going to be useful and usable. So anyway, let's get into this and then my thoughts on it. First thing is, he used to be able to decrease attack by 60% chance to decrease attack for 1 turn, and whenever you use your S1, there's a 25% chance to activate Smash as an extra attack. You can increase this chance to 35%, you can get an extra 10% with his EE, right? But now it's going to be a 75% chance to dispel 1 buff. It used to be his S2 that dispels a buff. 100% chance to dispel all buffs from the opponent, right? Here, you see right here, okay? And his damage dealt would increase proportional to the number of buffs that he had himself. So you want to basically buff him up a ton and then use them to smash a bunch of people. Well, that came out wrong, but anyway. So Charles, after attacking now, has a 50% chance to activate Smash as an extra attack, which is a huge upgrade. That's double his original chance, right? But you can double that again, actually, when he has 3 or more buffs. So he has a 100% chance to go from S1 into S2. This makes me feel that he wants effect resistance, and he is already really hard to build. Charles is hard to get bulk on, hard to get damage on. You can't really build speed if you want either of those 2 previous things, and now you want effect resistance. And he's not getting any HP scaling or anything like that. He still has extremely low base attack, and he's an attack scaler. We'll see if this helps him at all. I'm really not sure that it will, but I am hopeful. As a Charles believer, an advocate for this man, yeah, I'm really hoping that it works out. But his S2, right? What happened here is that he will now absorb some damage as health, so he's like a little bit mini lifesteal going on, which is not bad. Again, you want that S2. You want the S1 to S2, S1 to S2, right? Always, every single time. So if he can dispel buffs, right here with the S1, and then come in with damage, right? And then he actually increases combat radius of all allies by 15%. Not bad, especially if he's going to be countering S1 into an S2, pushing up the team. So hitting Charles when he can counter is not going to be a really good idea. You're going to turn cycle the opponent like absolute crazy. Imagine going for an AoE attack on the opponent. You're going to push up your opponent's Empyrean Illinov. Charles is going to counter you and push up the Empyrean Illinov even more. You're going to hit the boss of room, who's going to get pushed up even more by this combat readiness. Yeah, things can get out of hand pretty quickly. It's a good thing Mort exists, so that you can just put him into a draft and not care about anything. Anyway, let's keep moving on. Yeah, this is pretty cool to see that increased combat readiness for some more team support, right? His S3 now will grant him counterattack to the caster for 2 turns. So what he'll do is he'll increase attack and defense for everyone now, not just himself. He used to only increase defense for himself, attack and defense for everybody, and now he grants counterattack to the caster for 2 turns. I can see him being used in like slower bruisery type teams, which could be okay, maybe, I don't know. His kit seems to lend itself to that, 0 speed Charles, bank on that first turn, getting that S3 off, and then you start getting counter after counter after counter, S1 to S2, push up the team, combat readiness, turn cycling. I just feel like you need that effect resistance though, because without the effect resistance, you're not going to be able to have this Charles keep those buffs. People can strip them, people can, put unbuffable on him. It's not gonna be very pretty, and in order to resist all that, you're gonna need quite a bit of you need quite a bit of resistance, not just like 100. You're gonna need like minimum 150, trying to push 200 if you can, through like, you know, other team supports, imprints, or artifacts and such. Really not sure how I want to build him. Obviously, you're gonna probably want like Elber's Ritual Sword, but maybe you just give up that extra chance to counter. I don't know. If he has a counter buff, no one's gonna hit him, right? So if they're hitting other people, you might want Elbrus so that he can attack. Maybe, you know, if they're attacking your Basar who's tanking everything for the team, you want Charles to be able to go. That's actually really weird. Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to run Charles, who relies on counterattacks, with Basar who only allows her to be hit. But in any case, Elber's Ritual Sword would be good there. I don't know where you can use him, really. He seems like he's even more stat hungry than before, because I feel like he needs effect resistance. I don't know if you're going to need that effectiveness. I know the dispelling and stuff is really nice, but you really can't afford to have effectiveness with the effect res, with all the bulk and the damage. Like, it's already hard enough to build 100% crit with like 270 crit damage and like 3k attack. I'll show you, you know what, guys, I'll just show you my Charles. This is my Charles that is using some pretty good gear. Let's see if I can go ahead and find him for you guys. Right, we go over here. My man Charles, look at this. This is my man Charles. 3,000 attack. This is already with SSS imprint for crit rate. 285 crit damage. He's on a counter build. Pretty tanky here, no speed. If I drop his bulk a little bit, maybe some damage? I'm not sure, because you're guaranteed that S1 into S2, right? So maybe lowering the damage a little bit, because you have that consistency that's already built in. You want that effect res, and I don't know if I can really afford that in a build. I mean, you can get off the counter set, which is kind of nice. You can probably go for like destruction now, which is pretty cool. But if you were going for, let's say, a destruction set build, and you know, maybe you want damage, so you want penetration and not immunity, yeah, it's gonna be rough. Crit damage here, maybe, I don't know, HP and attack or something like that. You can probably swap some of those stats around, but we'll say, let's say we want medium of this, no speed, high crit rate, high crit damage, no effectiveness, high resist. So let's see if they can come up with anything. No, not really. I don't really have the gear for it, it seems. So that is promising. Very promising. Alright, but yeah, Charles, notoriously hard to build. If we can put him on something that doesn't require counter, maybe, you know, you can put him on crit with maybe destruction set if you're really strapped for resources. It could help alleviate some of the stat concerns here. Again, I'll need to play with the numbers and see what I can come up with, but it's just a little bit of an issue, right? You're definitely going to need effect res on this Charles to keep your buffs up. But anyway, I'm really excited for him. He's probably the one I want to test out the most, because he is like my favorite character in the entire game, pretty much hands down. And I've been using him for years, and I keep trying to use him in RTA, even to this very day. So, yeah. Oh, couple things. For his EE, yeah, the chance to increase the slash to smash by 10% is going to be removed. I mentioned that earlier. This now increases the buff dispel chance by 25%, so he has a 100% chance to dispel buffs on S1. Again, good against like DPS units, the bruisers and stuff that don't have effect res. That is perfectly fine. And they also removed his chance to decrease attack by 15% and increases damage dealt by 10%. That's going to just be straight up replaced by an increased 10% damage to smash. So if you want more damage, this is also a thing that you can potentially go for, and you can sacrifice maybe a little bit of attack or crit damage in your build to go for some more consistent damage options here. I don't know. Maybe personally, I might do the buff dispel. I don't know. I think his best one now is going to be his S3. His S3 one allows him to fully cleanse himself before he S3s, and because he wants to get rid of things like unbuffable and stuff to get his attack buff, defense buff, and counter buff, I think that's the way to go. Especially because if we look here, his soul burn is only 10 souls, and it decreases skill cooldown by 2 turns. That means that he can keep up this S3 pretty much 100% of the time throughout the fight, which I really do like. So, yeah. Anyway, that's kind of nice for Charles, yeah? Next up, we have Fenris. Fenris says, well, he just gains 25 fighting spirit whenever he uses S1. I think that should have been a thing. I don't know why it's limited to his caster's turn here, but that's kind of nice, I guess. And instead of dispelling 1 debuff from all allies, he's meant to counter Harseti, or meant to be used into Harseti. at least finally he's going to be able to dispel 2 debuffs from all allies. I mean, Harseti opens up with an S3 that has 2 debuffs on it. I don't know why he wouldn't cleanse 2, but yeah, that's kind of cool. Otherwise, that's pretty much it, besides his S3 allowing him to increase combat readiness of everyone by 30%. I know they are going to be coming out with a rework of like Fenris's EE options and such. They kind of butchered that a couple weeks ago, so we'll see what they end up doing for this. Just treat this as kind of an incomplete kit until his EE comes out, and then you can kind of mix and match some effects and stuff to maybe hopefully get a whole build going. But as of right now, do I think Fenris is going to come back into a meta play or anything? Not really. Will he maybe see some use in like the Epic 7 World Championship format where they have the lunatic bans, right? Where all 10 units that are drafted in the first round cannot be drafted in the second round? Maybe. Maybe he will be. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, especially with, again, his EE that will come out in the future. Hopefully, you know, filling in some holes in his kit. Alright, next up we have General Purrgis. Kind of a weird one to see a balance patch for, getting a little bit of a tweak. But General Purrgis here is just getting a 100% chance to provoke instead of a 75% chance. And instead of 100% chance to stun 2 random units for a turn, which I always did not understand. Yeah, he has a 100% chance to inflict stun for 1 turn. Now it's on an AoE. It's cool. Just, again, no one's ever really using General Purrgis. I did use him for a while as a Zeo trap unit, but not many people are first picking Zeos nowadays. I think it's okay. I think it's fine. This is at least decent for like PvE where you can stun a whole wave of like mobs for a turn. That's pretty nice. 100% chance to provoke is not bad. I have a General Purrgis built. I don't think he's really that great. Again, built for Zeo traps and such, but yeah, gonna be kind of interesting to see if he gets played at all. I can see if you're going up against a heavy AoE team that General Purrgis might actually be okay, you know, keep provoking that unit to keep using their S1 AoE like a Bellion or something, I don't know, and then you can just keep turn cycling your team. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But yeah, anyway, exclusive equipment here. Instead of getting that 20% chance to increase defense as a caster for 2 turns, he'll now recover health of the caster proportional to his max health when he uses his S1. So every time you S1, you're going to just keep yourself alive a little bit, sustain. And that's not bad, given that General Purrgis can be built quite tanky. Okay, next up, kind of a partner in crime as like a Zeo Trap unit that I used to use as Assassin Cartuja. Again, it's kind of weird that they are including him here too, but all he got was a provoke chance from 75% to 100% chance, and now he just gets attack scaling with his max health. So that's kind of cool. HP scaling for Assassin Cartuja, who's usually built very bulky, is not a bad thing, especially that chip damage. It can add up. I know some people use him in evasion meme teams and such with Pera. It just adds some fun and variety into the game. It's not every single buffed unit has to be super meta changing and game breaking, but this is just good to see, right? Bringing some units back up so you can use them in mock battles, you can use them in some fun, you can get some creative like Guild War Arena teams going to help spice things up, right? If you're tired of like seeing the same cookie cutter teams on Arena Defense and all this, and you're getting tired of the game, maybe try spicing up your own gameplay and trying challenging yourself to use different units, and this just allows you to kind of do that a little bit, which I kind of do appreciate. Okay, but anyway, moving on, last 2 things we have are the artifacts. So, Indestructible Gaiters, let's start with that. The thing that got changed is, instead of triggering on a non-critical hit single target attack, any non-critical hit when attacking will allow you to burn the opponent for a turn. So this is actually pretty good for AoE units, like Holiday Yufine, for example. If you don't build her on crit, and you just build her on like higher attack and some bulk and you know, some speed, then yeah, Holiday Yufine can come in with this and AoE S1 and have a chance to burn everyone for an additional turn. So, you know, 2 burns that last for a turn, not a bad thing to have, right? So yeah, and this also gives you a free attack boost as well. I think it could be decent for Holiday Yufine here. We'll see. I don't know. They're kind of trying to push this Holiday Yufine as like a solution to Mort, it seems to me. Let me know if there's any other applications you see her being used for, though. Maybe Harseti? Not really too sure on that one, because the speed RNG is still there. But anyway, last but not least, we have a Glo-Wings 21, which says after using a non-attack skill, grants a barrier equivalent to 10 to 20% of the caster's max health to all allies for 2 turns. They changed this so that it grants a barrier equivalent to 30 to 60 per level to all allies for 2 turns. So yeah, according to the calculations that I've seen other people do online, and I haven't done this myself, just a little disclaimer, I'm just sharing what I've seen. Apparently, this is really, it's kind of a downgrade actually if your units are above a certain threshold of HP, and if your units are usually below a certain threshold of HP, it doesn't matter. It is a bit of a buff. So yeah, it depends on what unit you're using this on. If you're using it on a really tanky, let's say Yufine and Politis, and you're trying to get a barrier and stuff for your team, it's probably not gonna be too great for you in terms of gains from the barrier. But if you're using it on like a regular old, like really fast 10k HP Yufine and Politis, you're gonna see an increase in barrier, right? I don't know about this artifact's just still not gonna see any use. Barriers on a non-attack skill is not necessarily all that good. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think of this balance adjustment in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, especially on my man Charles. Come on guys, give him a chance. Give him a chance. Let him cook. With that being said though guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.